Hey there, it's Jordan with Status Coup. We are live. It is Wednesday, October the 9th, 2024, in the United Corporations of America. I'm going to have to get another flag, and we're going to have to custom design it because I want to rename the country the United Sacrifice Zones, because that's really what we are. If you are in the wrong place at the wrong time, the government is not coming to save you, they are coming to cover it up. And we are seeing the same exact playbook playing out, obviously, in Flint, which I've covered for 8 years. We've been covering the East Palestine chemical detonation going on 2 years now. And we're going to unfortunately have to add the Conyers, Georgia / Atlanta area / who the hell knows how far this goes, because we have people posting that they're smelling this chlorine gas in Alabama. But there is a lot of new developments and, frankly, a lot of alarming developments. And I am not down there, but this is not my first rodeo. And this looks to me like a classic corporate / government attempt to minimize and cover up a really, really, really dangerous environmental contamination for which we don't know the full effects. So please smash that like button. Please share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. Our channel's kind of blowing up at the moment, which is really amazing. We work very hard here. We all of a sudden grew, I believe, 25,000 subscribers over the last 2 weeks. One of the interviews I did on Hurricane Helene, for whatever reason, blew up. So hopefully with the new subscribers watching, we could get what's going on down there in Georgia out to as many people as possible, because the local media, although they're covering it, it does not seem that they are covering it and exposing the actual full details and truth of what's going on. So I'm going to be joined by independent tester Scott Smith, as well as several residents from Conyers, Georgia, and the surrounding area. If you don't know anything about this, over a week ago, a chemical plant, it's called BioLab, and just to kind of cut the conspiracy theories now, it is not literally a biolab. I don't know why that's their name. It's not manufacturing bioweapons, which was going around. It does chemical treatments for pools and spas. Well, obviously, if you're doing chemical treatments for pools and spas, you're going to have a lot of chlorine in the plant. This plant apparently had 2 other fires over the last 7 years before this one, yet somehow it wasn't shut down. And it seems to me there wasn't a lot of enforcement or forcing this plant to remedy whatever was causing these dangerous fires. So over a week ago, they had a chemical fire, and chlorine gas was released into the air. Colin, as I speak, if you have any of the video or images of that chlorine gas, and there's been chlorine gas basically going around Conyers, 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles down, all the way into Alabama. People have been sick. Everything from, there you go. No, that's not East Palestine. It looks similar, though. That's Conyers, Georgia. And it looks like a nuclear explosion or something like that. This is chlorine gas. And frankly, it's not just chlorine gas in the air. And that's where Scott comes in. Joining me now, Scott Smith. He's an independent tester. He has tested for chemical contamination. I think he's been to East Palestine over 30 times. You've been to Flint and many other areas. Not your first rodeo, but I don't want to speak for you, but you were just down there testing, and you're feeling a little sick.
That's right. I can tell you, I had my nose cauterized in East Palestine. I volunteer to do this and go in and help communities, so I'm not complaining. But I can really tell when there's something without my testing results. And something was just 48 hours ago. There were people coughing up blood, passing out. And I was, around the perimeter, and the people around me, we all had intense headaches. And, I got a sore throat. So I really feel for these people. Fortunately for me, I'm back where I live and have relatively fresh air. But these people that are continuing to be inundated by the ongoing plume, I really feel for them. Also, I want to give a special acknowledgement to Kenny Johnson, who died. He was the supervisor for the water for the county, for the water and the soil. And he was speaking out almost like a whistleblower, and he has been talking about this. So these are 2 deaths too many. As you know, Courtney Miller was the first one to reach out to me in East Palestine, and she passed away recently. And just my heart and thoughts go out to Kenny Johnson's family. I've done a little bit of research on him. He's truly a hero.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna get to him. I'm gonna get to him because this. I want to be clear. I don't know the cause of death for this gentleman, but it is very alarming that this man was the water and soil official in this area. He was warning about this plant apparently for years. He just called for a federal investigation, and the same day that he spoke out, I believe a few days ago, he dropped dead. We don't know what the cause is. They are doing an autopsy, so I'm not going to speculate, but there's been chlorine gas in the air for now over a week. Let me bring in the residents too, because I want to weave in everybody's stories with your experience down there, Scott. So, Colin, you could just bring them in all at once. So we have Madeline. You're down there in Conyers. Shayna, I believe you live like 0.3 miles away.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce your name correctly. Is it Fatty?
Fatty the Street is the whole, but it's
Got
Fatty,
it.
yeah.
Fatty the Street. So you don't live in Conyers, but you were there when this happened. We lost your mic. Yeah.
I was in DeKalb in the area on Sunday when the plume happened, and we've been getting exposed in like the Fulton County area since then. I've been charting it. It's been awful.
So I'm going to get to you. I want to start. I think Shayna, you're the closest, correct?
I guess so.
Yeah. So I'm going to go by just proximity. Shayna, tell me, when did you first know this was going on? You got dogs, you got kids, I believe?
Yes.
And what's been going on with your symptoms?
We took my little dog to the vet today, and she has bronchitis. And we've been getting the headaches. And when it first happened, we were home, and we were supposed to be evacuated, but nobody ever came and evacuated us. Because we're on Lester Road, where they were actually talking about on their first news feed saying that they evacuated Lester Road, but we were never evacuated. My stepmother and a friend seen the evacuation online and called me and woke me up. And we ended up having to rush out of the house. And we didn't know exactly what was going on, so we covered the dogs up and put them in their cage. And then came back just a couple hours later, kind of broke in and got our dogs back and took them to safety with us.
And is that common for your dog to have bronchitis, or this is something?
She's never had it before.
And what about your kids?
I got lucky, really lucky that my son was at his friend's house when all of this happened because he has asthma. And when he came back, we ended up in Butts County because we were evacuated and couldn't come home. So we were further enough away where he was good, but he started getting headaches today.
Okay. And I want to ask you, because you live like not even a half mile from there, when you saw the text alert go out, I believe less than 48 hours. Colin, I don't know if you could put that up on the screen.
We never got it.
Said, oh, you never got it. Okay. Because they're sending alerts out literally 2 days into this, basically saying, nothing to see here. Just we're monitoring for chlorine and related compounds. They left off the word gas.
Yes.
Because it's chlorine gas is in the air, which kind of a big deal, was used as a weapon in World War I. But they're saying it's, unlikely to cause harm to most people, which to me sounds like a lawyer wrote that.
Yes.
Very vague. I don't know what that means because a lot of people have asthma. A lot of people are immunocompromised. And even if you don't have asthma, and even if you're not immunocompromised, you could have pretty bad symptoms from inhaling chlorine gas. And Scott, I want to ask you too, because we know with Flint, lead was the only thing that got headlines, but there was a lot more things in the water than lead. There was bacteria, there was PFAS. We know in East Palestine, vinyl chloride was the focus, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that was combusted. So here, I mean, really the only thing I see being communicated by the media or the EPA or Georgia's local FEMA is that they're looking into chlorine, but obviously there's a lot more chemicals that could have been created through that combustion, correct?
That is absolutely correct. And to put everything in perspective too, I want to set the background for this for some of the new listeners. I have an incredible scientific team around me of toxicologists, environmental scientists, and over 200 years of experience. My role on the team is being on the front lines to take the incoming missiles from plaintiffs' attorneys, from the EPA, and all the trolls, which I can handle. But I want to tell you that scientific team has had some discussions with EPA Region 4. This is not EPA Region 5, and I want to be very clear. Although, you know, I've been a whistleblower with EPA Region 5 in East Palestine, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I want to put things in perspective from the scientific team today, that it has been verified that at least 12 million pounds of chlorine compound has burned, could be as high as 20 million. We don't know yet. East Palestine, as bad as it was 2 million pounds of chlorine compounds, including vinyl chloride, PVC.
And in English, to dummies like me, what does that mean to the average person? 12
Here's
million.
what it means. The products of incomplete combustion, dioxins, and cancer-causing benzene compounds that are called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Jordan, we were both involved in this. I never thought there'd be an event that is now 6 times greater of chlorine compound burn. And it's worse than that. All these chlorine compounds were sitting on plastic pallets. And there was styrene and styrofoam in the building. And all of these compounds, when they burn, create dioxins and a whole host of other chemicals, irrespective of the phosgene and all the other gas. And this is from Shayna. Shayna was the first one. She reached out to me and tested. You see this right here? This is a retane.
Yeah.
This is what you see there. That's polystyrene. And this is picked up from her yard. This came basically right now 20 to 30 miles away. This was an invasion of people's airspace. You see that ash? I kept a lot of extra, and this got delivered to the lab on Tuesday. That is the polystyrene or styrene foam. It is a scientific fact. When that burns, it gives off dioxins. And unfortunately, the EPA said, we're only testing for asbestos. And of course there's no asbestos. And it just ties in. You can't find what you don't look for. Here we go again. But there are signs, I want to say, I give credit, there are signs that EPA Region 4 might end up being more transparent. They're not testing for dioxins yet. There's a sign that they may work with me and my team instead of launching a smear campaign like EPA Region 5 did. So I want to believe in the best of people until they prove otherwise. So let's give EPA Region 4 a chance. And I'm not here to demonize the EPA. I only hold the EPA accountable when they start their smear campaigns or we catch them lying and deceiving. So
let me ask Shayna and Madeline before I get to Fatsi the Street. Has there been much communication, like in Conyers, between Georgia's version of FEMA, the EPA, on A, what is in the air, B, what are they testing for? Madeline, you shook your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke at this point. We've been asking the same questions again and again and again as a community. They know what our questions are and they will not answer them. BioLab has not spoken publicly once. They've got a couple things on their website which amount to absolutely no information. And Rockdale County, where we have been pressing aggressively for answers, and we've started a community page. We're trying to get organized to put that pressure on them. But to date, we had finally yesterday, they allowed for citizens to ask questions, and continually the chairman danced around those questions. The long list that one of them has been answered.
And I have a basic question, Scott, because you're the most intelligent of us probably when it comes to this stuff. How is it that it's okay to go to work? It's okay for kids to go to school in surrounding areas. It's okay to do things during the day, but there's a shelter in place at night. Do the chemicals just go away during the day and they only come out at night? Why is there no shelter in place? I know for certain areas it was 24/7, but for a lot of areas that still this plume is the plume was out. People were inhaling this. People were going to work. People have to go to work. But why was there a shelter in place at night, but during the day, a large area around this could go out and about?
Well, first of all, there's not one person on my scientific team that agrees with that, and I don't have any answer for what it's totally illogical. And the alleged reason is that at night the plume descends towards the ground. But from my experience, being on the ground, I was on the ground Friday through Tuesday. The smell is there, the plume is there, but I have no, and again, they should have had masks and respirators in East Palestine. And they will tell you if you work, and we'll get to the point where the business owner, where I was trying to approach ground zero, we got in anyway on Sunday, and I'll get to more of that when it comes up. But it just yesterday, you saw the video I sent you. They said, well, there's dangerous gases you can't approach, but yet the contractor that was trying to stop us was illegally saying the police would arrest us, which was a complete bluff and was illegal and wrong. The police admitted they could not stop a private business owner from accessing property to test.
Yeah.
So so when you want to try to get to ground zero to do independent testing with a property owner that wants you there, it's unsafe to enter the area. But yet then it's okay to go to work, it's okay to go to school. So they're using that as it's the deception. But I'm very optimistic. This is ultimately all about the court of public opinion. And for those in Conyers, Georgia, I can't emphasize enough, thanks to Madeline for starting a Facebook page. Your voices are very powerful, and I'm here to help you and support you. And we'll also get to the games you're going to see with the plaintiffs' class action attorneys. 2 of the 3 firms that sold out the community in East Palestine are on the ground. And that's a whole separate discussion.
Madeline, before I move on, I just want to ask you, have you had symptoms? Has your family had symptoms?
Yes, I live by myself with pets. Luckily, my pets here have been okay to date. I had to go to urgent care on Wednesday, started coughing severely, very short of breath all the way through. I've had, it's dissipated a little bit since then, but I've also had severe headaches on and off for the last several days, spouts of being lightheaded. My horse is located a little bit outside of the county, which I thought was a relief, and I wasn't overly panicked. He does have some pre-existing conditions, but today he started to worsen, and they are smelling chlorine over there, and I'm not to date sure if that's related or not.
And for you, do you have asthma, or are these new symptoms? Or
okay. Yeah, I'm perfectly healthy Sunday before this, or Saturday before this started. All of this has started since then, and I can note that while I was at urgent care, they were busting at the seams with all kinds of people, even though they're saying this would only relate to people with pre-existing conditions. That's not what I'm seeing. That's not, I've been involved in talking a lot with the community, and that's not what I'm hearing. And
I'm going to make a quick guess that local reporters are not by the urgent care talking to people.
No, they're not.
Shocking.
And
go ahead.
If the air is so clean, like they're saying it is, then why did it all of a sudden trigger me and one of my good friends' vehicles, the O2 sensor, and our check engine lights came on?
Very important point, Shayna.
Fatih, tell me, how far do you live from this normally?
So right now I live in South Fulton, so it's like between the city and the airport, very close to Mercedes Stadium. And I just got over COVID like a couple weeks ago, and was going on my first outing on Sunday, and then got hit by the smoke when we were out getting groceries in DeKalb County, because my partner, he works over there. And then throughout the week, my symptoms were worsening, and I saw the Georgia poison control number. Like, I've been informing people on my social medias. And so I called the number too. So, you know, I practice what you preach. And they told me to get with my PCP. So Wednesday, I went and saw her, and she said if my symptoms worsen, she said if my symptoms worsen to go to the ER because they didn't have anything for chlorine gas exposure. So then Thursday, when I woke up, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know if y'all even know this, but they released a PSA saying that Thursday morning, people in Fulton County would see haze and would smell chlorine.
Mm-hmm.
So that morning when I woke up, my symptoms were so severe that I couldn't speak. And we immediately went to the ER, and then my partner, he had to go to work. And like 5 minutes after he left, I stopped breathing. And it was really, really scary. They put me on albuterol. I recently developed asthma because of long COVID, but I've never had a breathing machine treatment, and I've never stopped breathing before. And it was really.
I want to show Colin, if you have it, I sent it to you. We have the video of you in the hospital, and you're clearly struggling.
Yeah.
If we could show that, Colin.
Give me 1 second. I think I mixed something up. Give me a sec.
No problem. So when you were there, they gave you what, an inhaler?
So they gave me they gave me a steroid shot in the arm, and an X-ray. So I got an X-ray before the breathing machine, which was terrifying because I couldn't breathe, and they were telling me that like after the machine was going, and I started breathing again, the doctor, she was relieved, and she said she was really scared for me because it looked very serious, and I was like, oh, that's even scarier, not the doctor being afraid. And then they told me, she said that 40 people had been in the last 2 days for similar symptoms because of the chlorine smoke in the air. And that when they released me, they gave me a bunch of asthma medication and told me to keep a lookout on my heart rate. So I now have this oxidometer, and my heart rate's been over 100 like every day, like my resting heartbeat. Like if I do it right now, it'll probably say over 100. And yeah, I'm nausea, headaches, I can't sleep, and I bought this gas mask because it's the only thing that works.
And you said that you had, you just had COVID. You've had long COVID. So have you been having like asthma and stuff like this before this, and this just kind of kicked it into high gear? Or
I've actually been recovering. Like I've been getting better and being able to walk around and do stuff. Yeah. I don't know if you see this. It says it's 125. That's not right. That can't be right.
Did you get any communications from the doctors that there was any coordination between the doctors and the county health department or the doctors and the government? Because they're saying that 40 or so people are in for similar symptoms, but is there go ahead.
From what the doctors said, they've been having to do their own research on how to help people. They've gotten nothing from the government, and they've been looking into it, and they found out that they couldn't do anything for it except for treat the symptoms. And they're really scared for the people coming in because it's so many people. And what happened, she was like, I just want you to know that you're not crazy, and that this is for real happening to you, and that this is not just allergies, because it's been happening to a lot of people.
They're telling everybody that it's allergies.
Mm-hmm.
When you say they're telling everyone it's allergies, who's that?
My friend that was at my house, she's immunodeficiency, and she spent the night at my house that night, and she's been in the bed, into the ER, everything, and she can't talk. She has problems breathing. It's the same symptoms you're having, it sounds like. And they told her that it's a virus or it's allergies.
Who's they? Doctors told her that?
The the ER in Newton County.
Okay. Well,
So the doctor that
go ahead.
I spoke to, she was a student. So maybe from the upper, like the higher ups, they're communicating a different thing from what the student specialists.
Yeah.
I was about to say you're ahead of the game, because in Flint and East Palestine, the doctors just had a blank stare on and kind of pretended that, oh, well, we can't say it's from the water. We can't say it's from the train. At least this woman was telling you the truth, but it sounds like maybe it was a younger doctor. All right, we do have the clip now. I just want to play this for people to see. So, I hate to ask a woman, but you're not exactly 90 years old or obese. You're fairly young. So this is not something common.
No,
And
no, I have maybe seasonal allergies now because of long COVID, but I have not ever had an asthma attack before in my life. And my younger sister, she has chronic asthma, and so it wasn't new to me, but experiencing it was new to me. And I the video that you just watched was only a couple of minutes. I recorded 15 minutes straight of like almost throwing up, of not being able to get to any kind of inhale, and I thought that I was gonna die. That's why I recorded that, so that
wow.
so that people could see what it was like if I did die.
And Scott, not that you're a doctor, but I mean, chemicals. Chlorine gas, obviously the levels that were used in World War I were extremely high and potent. We don't know the full levels that were released. I mean, there has been some reporting that they found it significantly higher than the quote allowed limit. But so I'm not saying this is World War I levels, but at the end of the day, this kind of gas, and we don't even know what other chemicals were created. It could create acute symptoms, but it could also create some long-term effects too.
Correct. And in some ways, this is worse than what they used in World War I, because then it was just chlorine or just phosgene. You've got incomplete combustion products, smoldering burn in all these plastics. So you've got a very toxic mixture of chemicals. And I want to add, this is important. I did reach out to Dr. Beatrice Gollum, who helped our vets with the burn pits. This is why in East Palestine, it's about mixtures of chemicals. And you're going to hear most likely from BioLabs and others that a singular exposure to a singular chemical, those standards are irrelevant when you get to those mixtures. There are no standards for mixtures of chemicals, meaning there's something called synergistic toxicity. Everyone understands that had a migraine, sometimes the aspirin and the caffeine combination gets rid of it, but caffeine alone, aspirin won't. Well, that's a positive thing. Synergistic toxicity is you may be way below exposure limits for a singular exposure to benzene. You may be way below exposure limits for benzoate-pyrene. But when all these dioxins and all these cocktails mix together, it's irrelevant what the singular exposure is.
Right. And I want to ask you, Shayna, you live 0.3, like less than half a mile away, and I'm seeing that they're doing off-gassing, they're calling it.
Yeah,
I don't know when.
they're not really stating, or they have the roads blocked off. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday or day before yesterday. They did a mandatory evacuation on the other side of the railroad tracks from my house. It was Tuesday.
Wow.
It was Tuesday. It was yesterday. But they didn't exactly tell everybody why. They just said fumes in the air and stuff. That they didn't say anything. And they did the mandatory evacuation and then put the shelter in place still in it. But there's times where you can walk outside and you smell nothing. And then there's times where you walk outside and it hits you in the face.
Wow.
It
And
all
to be
depends.
clear,
It all depends on the wind.
And to be clear, we're going on now. I believe this started on Sunday, September 29th.
Yes.
So we're going on 8, 9, 10 days of this.
And
So
they've actually closed Rockdale County schools until October the 18th. They are doing virtual learning. So now
Interesting.
It's healthy for us, but not for the kids, because that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
But see,
Hey,
I
Jordan, could I jump in and make a very important point? Just
Yeah.
quickly, Madeline, very important to get a message out on the Facebook group and everyone listening in Conyers. Save your furnace filters, your car filters, seal them up in blags. I'm sorry, I can't get to everybody. I didn't know this was going to be so significant, but save everything you can. And especially, if you got a side of a house, don't clean it. And because we're going to have to swab the sides like I was doing with some of the windshields. So get that out. People want to preserve, and the ash in your yards, before you have BioLab come clean it up, seal some up in plastic bags and put it away, because this is evidence you're going to need.
Right. So I want to get to some, shall we say, irregular activities that have been going on down there. Obviously, this whole thing is not regular, but it seems, Scott, you were down there. You try to do as much as you can in a few days. You tested a couple homes, but you had hooked up with a business owner who his business was right next to Ground Zero, and he gave you permission to do some independent testing. But then when you approached his business, somehow, I guess the company, BioLab, had hired glorified traffic cops to stop the business owner from going to his own private property. I just want to play the clip, and then you could explain it after. Colin, if you could play that clip.
Okay.
Ship coming out of the wet house, going into a storage facility.
Hey, it's our friend from yesterday. Well, hey, friend.
Hey, listen,
It's us again.
I'm actually trying to get into this place.
Full disclosure,
I'll call you back.
I've got attorney David Graham
All
on the
right.
phone,
All right.
on the phone with us right now on speakerphone.
Okay.
Are you with the response group?
I'm with one of the parties, yes, but I'm not going to give out my information. They're going to have to go through the fire department for any information.
We know you guys are doing a job. I just want to document this. So we're on a public road being blocked from this business owner doing an insurance investigation for his contamination by people that will not give us their names or identities.
Again, everything needs to go through the fire.
So
You need to get out of the way right now. I cannot release this until the fire department says so.
You need to get out of the way now, or they will sue you individually. We have you on recording. You are committing a crime.
you got to film this. I mean, we need the identity. This is going to go. This is going to court.
permission to film me at all.
Well, we're on a public roadway.
Okay, then you're going to have to go over here and talk
We can legally film you. You're on a public roadway.
Okay.
And this cloak and
I'm
dagger
gonna
stuff
grab
this is not legal. What's going on? It is
Again,
totally
go
illegal.
talk to the police. I cannot talk about anything going on here, period.
So, what authority do you have to stop us from going in there?
You have to speak to the police.
Then why aren't the
That's all
police
you
here?
do.
Why isn't the fireman here?
Because they're jumped all around here. They are here. They just moved from up here. There's a cop.
How come none of you have masks on if it's so unsafe?
There is a
None of
cop.
you have masks on. The cops don't have masks
There is
on.
a cop right over there, so I'm going to stop this conversation. There's a police department right over there at the sign-in on this other road. Those are who you need to speak with. Not us. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to you guys here. If you have any conversation, it's got to go to the
So what if we
police
just keep
department.
driving down there? The police will come to us?
You can go wherever you'd like. I'm not going to stop you, but I will go get that cop and have him come down and get you guys.
No. I know. Look, I got to roll the dice, dude. 25 years. If my business goes under, that's 30 families that lose their jobs.
I understand.
So if that means I go to jail, then I guess I'm going to go to jail then.
We're not intentionally giving you a hard time.
No,
listen,
I understand your side of it. We're just under certain directives.
We've got a lawyer that's telling me to document everything, so we're documenting everything.
I understand. Trust me, I understand. I go through this a lot. As of right now, I cannot tell you that you can go through.
So, Chris, what do you want to do? You want to keep driving?
Just drive.
I don't have a choice. I'm going to lose my business.
I'll follow you.
One day, Sean, we're going to have a beer and laugh about this.
Yeah, it'll be wicked fun.
I understand. It's just for y'all.
That's what I said.
Let me add some context to that, Jordan. So,
Well, first, let's explain the who, what, when, and why. So, was that near BioLab where the fire was?
That's correct. That was.
And you
right
were
near-
you were with a business owner whose business is right down there, and that yellow vest guy was working for BioLab.
You know, I can tell you from experience, he works for the response group, and the response group is a contractor like CTEH that the billion-dollar company BioLab hires to intimidate and basically break the law. And we had
So
seen a copy.
just so people know, CTEH is kind of the go-to corporate cleanup company, and what I mean by that is they do testing. They did testing in East Palestine after the detonation, and they magically find nothing wrong. So when he says this group is like CTEH, that's what he's referring to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got tipped off. CTEH is on the ground, and people in Conyers can expect within 2 to 3 weeks BioLab to start pretending independent CTEH, which they're not independent at all. CTEH is going to start saying everything's fine. It's ubiquitous in the environment. You have allergies. So be ready for that. We can counter them with independent testing. And this is part of, whether it's the response group and these contractors or ex-EPA people selling out like we know did in East Palestine, working for the billion-dollar company. It's not just BioLab. It's these contractors taking the money and being complicit in violating people's constitutional rights. And just like the lawyer told me, the cops never showed up. And the cops said it is illegal. The cops never showed up. And they threaten people like you're going to be arrested. And I was able to complete all the testing. And that owner is, he's been in the news, Chris Lovejoy, and it's Serve Pro. He's right behind BioLab.
And also, I mean, obviously we don't know, but if they're not shutting down business, they're not shutting down businesses in that area, are they?
They've shut down all the businesses in that industrial park, and they're blocking access. Now, there's another I haven't posted everything yet.
Only on that side of the road. Everything on the opposite side is open.
Okay.
Here's another very important point. On Sunday, we were able to get in because there was just a cop there, and the cop admitted on Sunday, I legally cannot stop you. So what you heard is an admission of a crime by the contractor operating at BioLab. You heard in that video an admission of a crime that you will see in court eventually. So on Sunday, we got into the retaining pond near Ground Zero, and we tested next to a dead frog. I also tested a windshield. I haven't posted a lot of this stuff, but I will be. The windshield that deposited everything. One of the reasons why BioLab...
Colin, I think we have images of the dead frog as he's talking, if you want to show some of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and one of the reasons BioLab wants to illegally stop people from is the testing. And there you have an AC intake that's within probably a half a mile of Ground Zero. You can see the deposits. This is like it's gathering evidence at a crime scene. So we're testing for the full spectrum of chemicals. And remember, you can't find what you don't look for. So for those of you watching and you see these deposits on surfaces, and that's what I just showed you. That's a piece of the ash picked up from Shayna's yard that shows the polystyrene. And I think there's... Go ahead. Yeah, I think it's coming up. You're going to see the picture of the frog and the water we took right next to it. Now, where the frog was is within 1,500 feet. That is in the retaining pond. And we were able to get those water samples on Sunday. They're at the lab now being processed. And again, the full spectrum of chemicals from dioxins to the semi-volatile organic compounds. And there you see pictures I've gotten from residents of the plume basically invading their airspace and depositing chemicals, you know, in their yards, in their soil, on their surfaces. And this is why I say driving, this is your air filters in your cars are going to be good for evidence. You should change them and seal them, put them away for a later day.
I haven't even changed
So
my
let me
filter because of the smoke and stuff still goes.
So let me ask you, first I'll ask you folks in Conyers. I don't really know what you are politically, doesn't matter to me, but you gotta assume, I mean, most of you just expect if something like this happens, the government's gonna do the right thing, you know, they're gonna communicate with you, they're not gonna, you're not gonna be blocking business owners from trying to do independent testing. They're gonna try to explain to you what's going on. It seems like very little of those things are going on in your local government. You know, Shayna, Madeline, tell me, what does it seem? Does it seem like they're trying to hide something from you guys?
I can jump in and say, I mean, it was very early on that I think we all realized that was not going to be the case here. I didn't get Shane, I can speak for you, but I didn't get a notification. The alert didn't go out until 10:30. The fire started at 5 a.m. So it took them 5+ hours even to just notify the community of what was going on. From there, the communication got more and more sporadic. As far as, you know, if they are intentionally hiding or something, I can't speak to any level of certainty. I can say that there's been an incredible amount of evasiveness in their responses. And in addition to that, our chairman, Oz Nesbitt, you know, has continually said in reference to BioLab when asked questions, you know, we're working with BioLab, we're working with BioLab. He didn't actually speak anything out against BioLab until finally yesterday, and still will not actively say, you know, we are not allowing BioLab to reopen in this community. I know they've made he has spoken to that they've made an enormous investment in this community financially. And so it certainly raises those questions.
And for context, Shayna, this BioLab is one of the bigger employers in the community. So they employ a lot of people, and they've also had 2 other fires. So here's some questions. Why after 2 fires weren't they shut down, or at least had to show that they, you know, remedied whatever was causing these fires? They say this was caused by a water sprinkler malfunction.
Yes.
Seems a little far-fetched to me.
Yeah.
And you know, why, when they say they're working with the BioLab, this is like the EPA is working with Norfolk Southern. Well, Norfolk Southern is the one that crashed the trains and then unnecessarily detonated the chemicals. So why are you working with, why is the company even involved? The government needs to step in and take over here. What are your thoughts?
I think they should shut it down, and it shouldn't have been allowed to be operated this close to this many people. I mean, it's right by Old Town Conyers. And it jeopardizes a lot of people.
Hey, look,
I understand Kenny Johnson, the man who passed away, has been jumping up and down since the previous fire 4 years ago in warning about this. That man is really a hero and for what he was doing, and it's just so tragic that the world lost him.
I do fire alarms for a living, and there's no reason they have a wet sprinkler system in that building when it should be an Ansel system when it's a dry system. Why do they have water coming out of that system when it should be a dry Ansel system? Did you put water over a grease fire? No, it's the same basic. It's not rocket science.
Thank you. I want to ask, we're going to get, no problem. We're going to get to Kenny, but let me ask you, because we're getting the view from right at ground zero, but you're a little further away, and it doesn't, Fatih, it doesn't sound like you guys are getting much communication from your county or government officials either.
So I wanted to jump in because they're basically making it seem like this is only an issue in Conyers, and that nothing has happened besides a smell They're saying that there's a smell of chlorine and that there's maybe a slight haze. And I know for a fact that it's not just limited to a smell, that it's actually impacting people, because it's impacted me, and I'm south of the city. And then additionally, all of the PSAs and the information that's coming out from Fulton County is downplaying it, is minimizing it, and all of the concerns about what about all of the sensitive people, because every single night the AQI in our city is moderate. It's in the upper 60s and 70s, and it's like causing people to have, like people like me, to have reactions. And they're saying that it's just a sensitive group, that it's a small number of people. Well, there are millions of people who are disabled. There are millions of people who are in this sensitive group. What about all the elderly? What about the children? What about the animals outside? Not even just the animals inside. People have been seeing birds falling down, dying, squirrels falling out of trees.
There's been very dead beehives. There's been I saw somebody posted a video where there was no sounds in the forest.
Yes, just nothing. Every single, like, the lack of cicadas is terrifying. Like, I feel like I'm in a dystopian movie, and nobody's paying attention. Like, me and my partner, we have these, and whenever we go out, we're wearing them, but nobody else is, and they have no idea that they are just like inhaling all of these toxic chemicals that will cause who even knows what.
And Scott, I wanna mention, Scott, when she says that they're telling her and her community, you're about what, 20 minutes from where this happened?
Yeah, 20-30.
Okay. So when they're telling them, oh no, it's just a smell, but it doesn't affect you. Number one, it's not like the chlorine gas stops at the city limit of Conyers.
Right.
So this is the absurd stuff they were saying with East Palestine. Oh, a 1 mile evacuation radius. Like, it doesn't, like, that plume just stopped at the city limit, and there's like a magical invisible wall. And number two, these people, these government officials that are communicating this have zero expertise in any of this to be saying that. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. And what you're seeing is a commonality. It's called corporate capture. The billion-dollar company controls the narrative, and everyone else toes the line, because, whether they have a direct financial interest or indirect financial interest, that's what needs to be stopped. But, this is why independent journalists like yourself and communities coming together, the court of public opinion is ultimately going to win. And we'll get to the fact about these plaintiffs' attorneys. And in East Palestine, I'd encourage all of you in Conyers to talk to some of these residents in East Palestine, because the judge was complicit with the plaintiffs' attorneys. It's the system. It's not political. There's a lot of stuff you saw in East Palestine would happen no matter who's president, but the system needs to be exposed, and it's being exposed.
That's exactly what Kenny said in his YouTube videos. That's exactly what Kenny Johnson said in his videos. That it's systemic. It's the system.
And also, they also told us that in the evacuation zone, if you had open food, any kind of open cereal, open sugar, or anything, throw everything away. It is contaminated. Dog food, everything, it's contaminated. So if it contaminate that inside your home, what is it doing outside?
Very true. I want to bring up, I want to play this video because we've mentioned Mr. Johnson a few times. To be clear, I have no idea what he died of, but the timing is very interesting. So Kenny Johnson was the water and soil official. I don't know the exact title, but he was soil and water supervisor in this area. And apparently he was one of the only elected officials, kicking and screaming about this BioLab for years. And just the other day, he called for a federal investigation. While he was speaking, you could kind of see that he was having some trouble breathing. And he, I believe, very shortly after this, died. They are doing an autopsy. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not sure I trust if the county is doing it, but we'll see what that comes up with. But let's show that Colin one of his last words, the video. It's that tweet. Kenny Johnson has been begging for something.
State Representative for Conservation. I'm the first black man to be elected to this position. Since 1937, since the creation of soil and water. I worked in a field like this before. And catch my breath. But this company is called a COD. What I mean is a chemical oxidant demand. They treat their own water. And the chemicals that they keep on property, sulfuric acid, MIBK, that will kill you. Everybody in Rockville County need to go to the doctor and check out the blood for toxins. Please get that out. They used to send me out every time, at least every other month. So, please. Next thing is, I asked for a federal criminal investigation. This is not the first time. This is the second time. I've been asking for this 3 weeks ago to Senator Warnock, and Congressman Hank Johnson. Both of all the officers said they were going to do an inquiry and have the DOJ get involved. I had the HOA on the phone calls with me. 3 weeks later, okay. 3 weeks later, what we have? Fire. But they say it's an accident. Where's the MSDS? Yes. Where's the material safety data sheet? Where's the layout of the company? Why the chemicals wasn't stored in a dry place? Why they didn't call out foam truck like they did in 2004? But they put water on the chemical that react. How are we going to solve this? We need a federal criminal investigation. EPA Region 4 is the worst.
So I don't know if any of you noticed, but it did seem to me like he was having some breathing issues while he was speaking. I don't know what health issues he had, so obviously we can't connect the dots. I don't know if him dying very quickly after that has anything to do with this chlorine gas. With that said, he obviously was speaking out and he just dropped dead. They're doing an autopsy under the circumstances to see what he died of, and we'll have to follow that. But again, in all of these cases, you can't have the companies handling the emergency response. In this case, I don't really think you could have the county coroner be doing the autopsy, because the county is the one that seems to have given sweetheart deals and looked the other way for this BioLab to continually recklessly endanger the public. So I think there needs to be an independent autopsy. So again, no speculation. We'll just have to see what it says. But you all seem to respond that you knew Kenny and that he was speaking out. So what does it say to you that he's calling for a federal investigation? Now he's tragically died. Are any other politicians there speaking like Kenny was?
Not that I know of.
No, I mean, I listened to that in full, and I also listened. So that was at the Capitol. There was at the same time that was happening, we had Oz Nesbitt, which is our chairman, and some of the commissioners speaking at the county level. And no one else is speaking to these things in either of them or in any news report I can find. I called our senators. I called all of these numbers, and we've been asking as a community to get federal involvement in this. And it's, we're looking into it, but they haven't set foot in Conyers, to my knowledge. They're not here on the ground, that's for sure. It's out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for context, it's 10 years later and the EPA has still not admitted guilt in the poisoning of Flint, and they still haven't settled with the residents of Flint. So I'm not saying everyone's bad at the EPA. Both Scott and I have talked to people at the EPA are good, but at the top, there seems to be a couple rotten apples, shall we say. But Scott, at the end of the day, all of these cities, towns, there's a different inciting incident that causes it. But afterwards, it seems to be the same exact playbook. And I have questions. Number one, what was the relationship and dynamic between the local Rockdale County and this lab? I want to see the emails. I want to see meeting notes if there were. And I want to see, after these 2 fires, what were they ordered to do to remediate whatever was causing the fires? It sounds very suspect to me that all of this happened just from a water sprinkler that malfunctioned. By the way, this happened right after Hurricane Helene. The last fire at this lab happened right after a hurricane. So go ahead.
Yeah, here are the key questions are: who really owned the building? What is the extent of the involvement between, I think you call your elected officials commissioners? Everyone, you need to ask questions of everybody and why nothing was done. Where were your elected officials? Even your U.S. senators. And to go to the system. In Ohio, you have a Republican senator, Democratic senator. The result was the same. And follow the money. If you follow the money, you will get the answers. But I understand there's an issue over that the town may own the building and some of the commissioners may be involved. I don't know, but those should be easy questions to answer.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So I did some research into Kenny Johnson's work, and he has a YouTube channel where he has recorded the meetings that he's done about these exact things, and he's posted them on his YouTube channel, and he speaks out about the fact that there has been, he doesn't use the word conspiracy, he doesn't use conspiring, but there has been an organized effort to get him out of his role and his position because of the fact that he was the only thing standing in the way of corporate interests just doing whatever they wanted with Rockdale County and making these people's homes just a mess. He speaks out on it. He has pictures. He names names. He says, he shows all the documents and the emails. And it's very clear in his speaking that he was on his way towards taking this to federal court. And then suddenly we don't know why. We don't know what happened to Kenny, but it's very suspicious, I will say the least, especially if you watch his videos.
I want to point out something. The reason I cover these stories is, yes, of course they're local and they matter to the people affected, but we're all interconnected. And what you just said, the same exact thing happened in Flint. There was literally one politician. His name was Eric Mays. He was known for his rowdy mouth. He became a TikTok star, but he was not going along with the official story. And he was calling for investigations into the financial scam that actually caused the Flint water crisis. And boy, did they try to get him out of office. They tried to get him arrested. They tried to kick him off city council. He was the only one that correctly registered or filed the paperwork to run for mayor. And then they changed the law so he couldn't run for mayor. So the point is, it always seems like there's maybe just one or two brave local officials, whether it be Flint, East Palestine, Mr. Johnson, and everyone else seems to have duct tape over their mouth. But at the end of the day, why I hope you guys are different than East Palestine and Flint is it's very early into this, and you could kind of learn the playbook of what was done to Flint and East Palestine and so many other places. Scott, I mean, again, you're not a doctor, but if this was in your community, I mean, when is it safe for people at a certain point to go take a walk outside in this vicinity? Go have their kids playing outside. I know you can't give medical advice, but it seems to me that once visibly this plume is completely gone, the powers that be want people to just continue on with life and nothing to see here.
I think you can't declare it unsafe or safe until you have complete comprehensive testing and not just asbestos. And, if I live there, I never touch, everyone's personal decision. I would err on the side of caution. And unfortunately, most people aren't in a position to leave the community. But you need to be very careful. And I know what I experienced in 3 days, and I feel very bad for the people that have to live and work there and can't get out. It is not a coincidence that people are getting sick. And that's why I've got such a great team around me, and I'm hoping to be able to help people, find out what you've been exposed to, so then you can make the decision and go seek medical attention. But the statement, I can tell you the playbook right now is going to be all these chemicals are a bit ubiquitous in the environment. It's PTSD, it's psychosomatic. That's coming next, because I do know with CTEH already engaged on the ground and their toxicologists, and also BioLab has hired a crisis PR firm. So read about East Palestine, switch everything on East Palestine, put Conyers, Georgia. The good news for you guys, you can learn from it. There's a lot of great people that want to support you that learned from East Palestine. I also want to make a very important point. There are people watching, whistleblowers. I'm also a whistleblower client of the Government Accountability Project, that I wouldn't be able to continue this without them. For those watching that want to come forward from the EPA, 90% of you are great people. You can go anonymously, go directly to Leslie Pacey, go directly to the legal director, Tom Devine. You can trust them with your life. I did, and they're better protection than armed guards. It's a great organization with lawyers. We need more whistleblowers.
And to be clear, the Government Accountability Project is not with the government. It's separate. Some people wondered, well, I don't want to go to the government. They're not with the government. I want to ask you, Madeline. Seems to me you've created this Facebook page for local residents affected. Seems to me you wouldn't have to do that if the media was all over this. It seems to me you wouldn't have to create a Facebook page if the media was doing what I am doing and Scott is doing, and investigating and asking questions and demanding answers. I've seen one or two reporters giving updates on Twitter, but they're basically just repeating what the government told them. So can you tell me, why did you create the Facebook page? How could people get on there in the local community? And also, what is the general conversation going on there? Are people just very confused? I'm sure people are worried. Tell me what the vibe is on the page.
Yeah, so absolutely. The reason for creating it was, after days and days and days of, and I was directly reaching out to reporters saying, hey, are you asking these questions? I was reaching directly out to Rockdale County via their Facebook page, trying to make calls, not getting any answers. And I'm seeing people consistently comment on the Rockdale County's Facebook page, the same questions, and not get answered. It occurs to me, the only way we potentially get answers is applying pressure. The only way we get pressure is coming at a unified front. And so the goal here, and we are, this has only been open a couple days and we're growing pretty quickly. The goal here is to get a large portion of the community involved in this. We've already got a comprehensive list of questions and actions that we want to see happen, answers to our questions and actions. The next goal is to actually start scheduling some peaceful protests here. Hopefully the media can't ignore that, and that will in turn apply that pressure. As far as sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
As far as what people are saying, again, we're talking about the same questions again and again. Scott has been a saving grace for us that we at least know somebody is testing, right? Because BioLab has said they're all too happy to pick up this debris. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're happy to pick up that debris, but we still want to make sure that things are getting tested. We still want these answers. So as a group, there is, yes, an incredible amount of concern, not only for our safety, but also economically. Those of us that own our homes, we're chained to this community now. I moved here 3 years ago, not doing apparently more research than I should have. And now I understand, no one in the right mind is going to buy my home in any time in the near future. So we want answers for that as well. We want the ability in this, not just BioLab, and tell us, what are you going to do for us, those that are now trapped here?
I wanted to jump in. There's a Atlanta mask block that is working together to try to get gas masks for the people of Conyers. It's a fundraiser going on right now. They have raised around $5,000 out of $10,000 to try to get gas masks to the people of Conyers. So that's Mask Block Atlanta. There's a lot of different organizations that's grassroots on social media that's working towards getting more information about what's happening out to the people. So yeah, just like Mask Block Atlanta, MaskBlockATL.
We'll put
And
that in
they're-
the we'll put that in the description. Just send it to me.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Shayna, you wanted to say something?
Yes. The thing about it is okay, if it's such a dry system, the fire marshals are set for businesses and everything to get all of their stuff up to safety and have it checked all the time. Well, if they were such a big lab that's not supposed to have any water, why were they apparently not getting the inspections like they were supposed to be getting? Because, like I said, he works for and does fire alarms. And a dry system is not supposed to have no kind of water. And he said it doesn't matter, even if it does have a hurricane, it still wouldn't get no water in the system.
Mm.
And he's been doing it for 16, 17 years.
And you're also, from my understanding, not supposed to have stacks of chlorine pellets close to other things. So it seems like there was a lot of things being done that were against regulation.
They also said that every time they moved a wall, there was more of the chlorine and the chemicals being found that they were not even notified that was even there.
Kenny was saying that Rockdale County had been outside of EPA compliance for 4 decades, and that he'd been trying to get work done for over 6 years about this. And yeah, it's a huge issue. Like, it's crazy.
And my neighbors have lived here through almost their whole entire life. They actually own the road that I live on. I'm the only house on this side of the road that they don't own. And they have went through all of the fires, and they said the 2004 one didn't even come close to this one that happened this time. They got evacuated for a week. The cops and everybody came and knocked on their doors and told them that they need to be evacuated. We never got a cop to knock on our door. Not even at 2:00 in the afternoon. Nobody showed up to our houses to knock on our doors and tell us to leave. We were told by family, and I called them, and they said that they didn't know we weren't fully evacuated. And my neighbor drove up to the end of the road, and the cop looked at him and said, "Why are you still here?" Like, he knew, like, you were supposed to be evacuated, and my neighbor told him, "Well, nobody came and evacuated us. So how are we supposed to know?" Nobody got no alerts. Nobody got nothing. If it wasn't for my family, we would have still been in this house all day long. Because nobody.
And I also want to point out, Madeline, this is for you, but for everybody. We're talking about learned lessons from these other disasters. I could promise you, if this Facebook page blows up, the number one tactic is divide and conquer.
Exactly.
So
Thank you, Jordan.
The local government, maybe the EPA. I don't know this. I know EPA Region 5 is pretty bad in the Midwest. Maybe this one's better. I don't know. But there have been in a lot of these areas, when residents come together in the beginning, there's been efforts to make them fight each other, sow division. I know for a fact in Flint there were moles plopped into certain groups that worked for corporations or the government to kind of create chaos. And the bottom line is, I mean, this is your life, this is your health, your families. So obviously emotions are high, and you're not, every person is not going to agree on every strategy or every tactic, but you gotta definitely be aware that as people come together, if the Facebook page gets bigger, there might be more than one. There's going to be attempts to kind of make you guys fight each other rather than the government officials, the corporation. And that's how they get away with this stuff, because they make you turn on each other rather than keeping your focus on them. So just keep that in mind. Scott, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I want to thank you for saying that. You read my mind, because the job number one of the public relations firm that BioLab hired is to divide the community, and there are moles watching. That's why we have to assume, Madeline, everything we post is watched by them, which is fine. But unity will overcome all, and knowing that up front. Also, the plaintiffs' attorneys, what East Palestine, there are about 4 or 5 firms now on the ground that were in East Palestine. They promised the residents testing, and you can go to the Government Accountability Project, which is not the government. The plaintiffs' attorneys hired the world's preeminent expert, Stephen Petty, who came out with an affidavit exonerating me recently. They buried his test results. After a year of getting people to sign up, these attorneys are walking away with close to $200 million, now saying nothing to see here. Watch out for these plaintiffs' class action attorneys. You got to make your own decisions, interview attorneys. There are other options, not in the plaintiffs. They will promise you the world. But now they're saying nothing to see here. I think they have 200 million reasons why. And if there was, their expert was silenced. His reports weren't released. So if there was nothing to see here, why did the plaintiffs join in on it? And then the plaintiffs' attorneys hired a PR firm to smear me and come after everybody. You understand that? I mean, that this is all in black and white. It's not speculation. The plaintiff's attorneys trying to protect the community comes after one of the only independent testers with my scientific team. That's how messed up this is.
And Shayna, Madeline, Fatsi, could you tell me, have you heard anything from Governor Kemp on this? Have you heard anything from Senators Ossoff, Warnock, your Congress people? It seems that, you know, there's an election going on. Georgia's a swing state, but has the governor said anything about this?
Chairman Oz Nesbitt likes to name drop that they have been all calling him and have offered their support, but I have yet to see anything other than from his mouth.
Yeah.
So the governor hasn't said anything about this?
No.
I have
not that I have seen or to my knowledge.
Not either.
Single thing. No.
What about the 2 senators, Ossoff and Warnock?
Again, not to my knowledge. I've heard Oz
knowledge.
Nesbitt say that they've been in contact with him.
What's strange is Kenny says that he spoke to all of them, and there's been nothing since he's passed. That's weird. If he was in communication with them and then he passed away, and he's like a federal agent, right? Like if he works for the, why is there no communication about his like passing?
Nothing. They want to hide everything.
Oz did speak to that in the meeting yesterday to his death and did a moment of silence and a prayer there. I will say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we go, I just want to ask the residents, again, it doesn't matter to me if you're Democrat, Republican, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. But before this, everyone's ranting about democracy is on the line in the election and our country's, at stake. There are obviously serious issues going on with the election, but has this been kind of a wake-up call for you in some ways? Did you trust that? Have you seen some alarming things that surprise you about the response?
Not really.
Go ahead, Shayna.
Not really, because I'm not real big into like looking all through all that and everything. So I really can't really say too much about it because I'm not real political.
Okay, gotcha. What about you, Madeline?
I would say that in the beginning of this, I hoped that we would see clear communication and action from the government. I can't say that I'm overly shocked that hasn't been the case. Unfortunately, not massively surprised thus far.
And Fatih?
I just I want to use my last comment to say that with Hurricane Milton happening and evacuations from Florida coming up into Georgia, the fact that this chemical disaster is still ongoing and those people are going to be leaving one disaster and jumping into another one.
That's
and
a fair point.
Most of the conversations that I'm seeing happening are about the election. It's like we're kind of dying. No, like literally. And they're like, yeah, remember to register to vote. Like I got a notification to remember to register to vote. And like I couldn't breathe. Priorities.
Yeah, it's an alternative reality.
And neither the Democrat or the Republican side has said anything about Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, or the Rockdale fire. And it's like, they don't care about us at all. We're voters. We're a swing state. At all.
And Scott, my last question to you, I mean, what's the next steps from the scientific perspective? You've done some testing there. You got to send it to a lab. But what is the EPA doing down there as far as you know? Do we know what they're testing for? And when will you have more information on what you found?
My scientific team, which I protect them, so because it's my role on the team to take the full frontal assault, but the scientific team was in touch with the EPA. They confirmed they're not testing for dioxins. They've only been testing for asbestos. They have no dioxin plan, but we are going to work in good faith. Like I offered to sit down and share data and reciprocity with EPA Region 5. I'm going to do the same thing with Region 4. I'll do the same thing with Chairman Oz, and willing to have full transparency, and we'll see what happens. It's their choice. If they want to work together or work against the community, it's their choice. But I'm hoping Conyers, I'm always optimistic that Conyers can set a new standard, learning from East Palestine and all these other disasters that use the same playbook.
Absolutely.
Jordan,
thank you, everybody. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. So sorry. Would you mind popping the Facebook group title in the comments here for anybody local listening, that they can join that and join in on pushing back?
So let me get it here.
I can text it to you. And just to say that it's Stand Against BioLab in Rockdale County, Georgia.
I'm not gonna look it up.
Stand Against BioLab in Rockdale County, Georgia. And folks could just type that in and click on it to join.
Absolutely.
Got it. Do I have it right on screen here?
You do.
Okay. I think. Cool. Thank you, everybody. We'll definitely stay in touch because, unfortunately, with these things, the government will probably within the next week or two say everything's fine. Go walk your dog and enjoy your life. But we're here to give you a nice, unfortunate, ugly dose of reality. We'll definitely have to stay on Mr. Johnson's tragic death and the autopsy and who did the autopsy. I'd like to know, Scott's results, and we need to know symptoms because, Scott, you mentioned, you saw people, you've heard of people coughing up blood. We've heard
Passing out.
From passing out. You weren't breathing. Animals, beehive. I mean, you could learn a lot from animals. The beehive's gone. Animals not chirping in the forest.
I've got a lot of concerns about crops and gardens. We didn't have enough time, but we'll have to reconvene this. Crops and gardens are very concerning. And again, before declaring safe or unsafe, there needs to be an investigation with testing. I have a conference call with Eurofins Labs on Friday, and I'll know more, and I'll keep the Facebook page updated.
Scott, we have some if you want me to cut some off and put it in a container, a bag for you.
Please do so. Please do
Also,
so.
Increased heart rates. For people who have heart issues, increased heart rates is also a symptom, and it's a concern.
I also want to point out, I'm just stealing from you because it was a great point you made. I mean, God knows how many people are coming up from Florida. That is a great point. And they're staying in this area, and they've been dealing with their own shit down there. So they might not know very little about this and be exposed. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Thank you, everybody. I'm sticking around for a minute. So audience, don't go anywhere. Major public service announcement coming up. But thank you, Scott, and to the residents.
Thanks, guys.
We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what. I got to surrender. I can't keep up anymore. As my wife could tell you, my head's going to explode because I, at this point, have about 20 to 30 people text messaging me from different communities. Flint, East Palestine, Kalamazoo, Michigan, now Conyers, and a couple other places. You know, not that totally understand everybody reaching out, but it's hard to keep up because every other day, every other week, there's another chemical plant on fire. There seems to be another train exploding, another community poisoned, and I'm only one person and we're only one outlet. So we try to do the best we can. And we're going to try to continue covering all of these, but to activists, to residents who call and email and contact, don't take it personally. If you don't hear back from me, I'm only one person. I got a daughter to raise, a wife, and a company too. With that said, we're going to try to cover as much as we can though. So with that said, I'm excited to announce I will be back on the road. What's today? Wednesday. So I'm heading out tomorrow, and we're continuing. If you didn't know, we started a swing state reporting tour. We started a swing state reporting tour the other day. So independent journalist Jason Peters has been in Pennsylvania for us the last few days. So go check out those videos. He was live a couple hours ago from Dimock, Pennsylvania. You might not know they've had dirty, toxic water there for 14 years, and it's still bad. So he was just there in Dimock, Pennsylvania, live a couple hours ago, and he's covering other stories. When I say a swing state reporting tour, don't get it twisted. We're not going to Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin to ask people, who are you voting for, Kamala or Trump? I don't really give a shit, frankly. That's the mainstream media. If you want to know the horse race and polls, you can watch CNN and that junk. We're going, and I'm going, to these swing states to actually show you the stories the corporate media is covering up, to report the stories that the corporate media is not covering, like poisoned water, poisoned air, worker strikes. We're going to be going in Michigan. There's potentially about to be another auto strike against Stellantis, which is one of the big three auto companies that United Auto Workers went on strike against last year. Well, Stellantis is not honoring the contract, so there might be another strike. So we're going to talk to workers there. There's also aerospace workers that have been on strike now, I believe, for almost 2 weeks. Media is barely covering that, so we're going to talk to workers there. Honestly, I'm text messaging with a gazillion people in Michigan and Wisconsin, and my head's going to explode. So there's a lot of different balls in the air. We're going to try to cover as many different stories as we can. I'm going to be on the road probably for a week or so in Michigan, in Wisconsin. Like I said, Jason's in Pennsylvania now, so go check out those videos. If you have a story in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, email us, info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. Yes, it's a bird. It's a plane. Wow, real news. Holy fuck, Master Key says. Yes, we are real news. One of the few living, breathing, on the ground, independent, key phrase, independent outlets out there. But you know the drill. This takes a lot of money. Between John and Jason, who are in Pennsylvania now, they've been there they'll be there for 3 days. And then me and John in Wisconsin and Michigan, we're going to be on the road for nearly 2 weeks. It's a lot of gas because we're driving 3 states. That's probably going to be 12 hours of driving there and back. A lot of gas, food, hotels, paying John, paying Jason, and whatever equipment we need. So if you are not yet a paying Status Coup member, I ask you, is $5 to $10 a month worth it for real, living, breathing, on-the-ground journalism? I don't ask you. I beg of you. Please give me $5 to $10 a month. That's all I ask. $5 a month is 16 cents a day. $5 a month is 16 cents a day. $10 a month is 33 cents a day. If you don't have that, I totally understand. If you can't become a member, I get it. But think about, what do you spend $5 on maybe a week? Starbucks? Maybe you spend $5 a day on Starbucks. I don't know. We don't take money from big banks. We don't take money from fossil fuckers. We don't take money from big pharma. We don't take money from big real estate. We don't take money from the military industrial complex. We don't take money from Silicon Valley. Our funding comes from you, the people. I don't care if you're a lefty. I don't care if you're a righty. I don't care what you are. We have, I'm progressive. I don't hide that. I believe in universal health care. I believe in universal education. I believe we need to cut the military in half. If you don't completely agree with me, that's fine. But we all agree we need clean water. We all agree we need to get rid of government corruption. And we all agree that we're living in the United Corporations of America. Our government has been seized by corporations and corrupt politicians. To be clear, there is no other independent outlet in America. I don't care if they're liberal. I don't care if they're on the left. I don't care if they're on the right. There is no other independent, non-corporate funded outlet in this land that does the amount of consistent on-the-ground reporting that we do. And I'm happy to brag about it because we've been doing it for 6 years. We've been all around this country and we are consistent. I just released a book in August on the Flint water cover-up. It's called We the Poisoned, Exposing the Flint Water Cover-Up. I was able to break that story because I've been to Flint 21 times. Let me repeat. I've been there 21 times. I don't tell you that so you send me a cookie and tell me how special I am. It's not about me. I tell you that because I've had to keep going back to Flint, Michigan, because the Michigan media stopped covering it and the national media stopped covering it. And when I say covering it, I'm talking about the biggest government cover-up of the 21st century. Definitely get my book if you can. We the Poisoned, Exposing the Flint Water Cover-Up. It's now been released recently on audio too, so you could get the audio book. But why this is important, we cannot break these stories to begin with, but most importantly, stay on these stories without money. It costs money. I would like to go down to Conyers. That costs money for me and a cameraman. I would like to stay on the East Palestine story. It costs money. I'm going to stay on Flint. It costs money. And to be honest with you, I ain't getting any younger. I just turned 38 and there's a lot of miles on these tires. I'd like to hire other reporters to help me. I'd like to hire other producers. I know poor Colin behind the scenes, he maybe would like to work less weekends. We're working around the clock. John Farina, who's with Jason in Pennsylvania right now doing camera work, he's covered over 100 protests over the last year. We're 3 people doing the work, basically, of normally you'd have 10 to 15 doing. So I'm not saying these things to brag. I'm not saying these things to, get pity. I'm saying these things. It is as simple and direct. $5 a month. That's what I need. You could sign up at $5 a month. You could sign up at $10 a month. We also have a $20 a month level, or you could sign up annually, and that's $179 a month. As a member, we do monthly members call. I'm sorry to our members. We're not going to have one currently because of everything I'm talking about. I'm going on the road. We will do one before the end of the month. So we do a monthly members call. It's through a program like Zoom where I talk to the members for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We also do behind the scenes videos for you from on the ground. But why this is also important, why your membership is important, A, it helps us fund all of this, but B, when you are funded directly by the people, and this is why most of the media in America, both national and local, is a bunch of corporate propaganda. When you are not funded by corporations, but you are funded directly from viewers, when you are not relying on advertisers because you are funded directly by viewers, you are liberated. I don't work for corporate America. I don't work for advertisers. I work for the audience. I work for the residents I just interviewed. I work for the viewers. I work for the poison people of Flint and East Palestine and Kalamazoo and now Conyers and East Chicago, Indiana and Cape Fear, North Carolina. And I could go through the list of stuff we've covered. When you get the funding directly from the people, you're free to do whatever the hell you want and to do it the way it should be done. If you read my book, and this is, to be clear, I'm not just plugging my book. I'm not going to make $1 million off of this book. As of now, we're just under 4,000 sales, so I definitely want to get that up. But if you read my book, you're gonna see reporting that you have never seen about the Flint water crisis or cover up. You have never seen it in the New York Times. You have never seen this reporting in the Washington Post. You'll never see what I exposed in this book on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, local news. Why? Because they don't keep going to Flint, and they are owned by corporations who don't want to reveal this kind of corruption. They want the status quo. That is why we named this Status Coup, because we need a journalistic, keyword, journalistic, not a violent one, a journalistic coup of the status quo. So I am not beyond begging. I will kindly ask, and then I'll beg. If you can, if you're new here, we have also gone up. Colin, what have we gone up recently? 25,000 subscribers in the last week or so? We had one video blow up.
Yeah, somewhere 20. Yeah, it has to be around 25,000, 24.
So we had one video that I did. It was an interview with a resident down there near Asheville on Hurricane Helene. I don't really know why it blew up, but it blew up. It's about to hit 2 million views. And from that one video, we got over 20,000 new subscribers. And you know what? Frankly, we deserve it, because we've been doing that kind of reporting, whether we're getting 2,000 views or 2 million views. We're not in this for views, and we don't cover that. We cover most stories we cover. We know we're not going to get a lot of views because YouTube's algorithm does not elevate these kinds of stories. YouTube's algorithm elevates bullshit. YouTube's algorithm elevates reactionary hot takes. YouTube's algorithm elevates people fighting with each other. They don't elevate communities being poisoned. They don't elevate workers being exploited. They don't elevate water being contaminated. They don't elevate chlorine gas in the air. So please, please sign up as a member. And if you're already a member and you have the funds, if you don't, I understand. Please donate to help us fund this trip. StatusCoup.com/donate. A trip like this, which is going to go for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, it's going to cost us minimum about 3 states, probably $5,000. So please, please support us. StatusCoup.com/donate. You can donate anything. Small donations, obviously the bigger ones help. I got to tell you, I'm always anxious on the road because I see how much money we're spending, and it's very rare that we actually make money or surpass what we spent on the road. My goal when I'm on the road is just break even. Try and break even and cover the costs of the trip. And Colin could tell you, because I've been on the road, and I'll be anxious talking to him when he's been on the road with me. And then some magical, amazing person out of nowhere donates like $1,000, which helps a lot. So obviously not everyone could donate $1,000, but even, $5, $10, $50, $100, whatever it is. I believe show, don't tell. Actions speak louder than words. We've been showing you where the money is going for the last 6 years. So if you got a couple bucks, if you ask me, Jordan, which one do you prefer? Sign up as a monthly member or donate? Sign up as a monthly member. Recurring, consistent revenue is how we grow. So sign up as a member. If you're already a member and could also donate, amazing. If you can't, totally understand. Everybody's got, stuff going on. All right. Let me read the super chats. Mark Lane, $4.99. Hold politicians accountable. Corporate coup underway in America. Hashtag BDS. Hashtag stop the steal. Thank you very much. Half-Life wife. $20. Thank you for not letting the issue languish and die. Status Coup News. Thank you. Denise Columbia. $5. We would be huge already if YouTube hadn't messed with the algorithms. Oligarchy wants Status Coup to shut the fuck up. Oh, to be clear, if YouTube never changed its algorithm in 2017, we'd probably be at well over 1 million subscribers by now. Because the stuff we cover, I was doing it at the Young Turks before YouTube changed their algorithm, and I grew a channel to almost 150,000 subscribers in less than a year. So if YouTube never fucked around with his algorithm and they weren't suppressing and hiding independent outlets like this, we'd be well over 1 million subscribers. But sadly, that's not the world we live in. So that's it. Jason will be live again tomorrow from Pennsylvania. And then I'm going to be live starting in Michigan on Friday in Michigan. So again, if you're in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, we are driving through Ohio and some other states. I can't guarantee I'll stop, but if you got a story in this general area, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the Midwest, I'm talking economic struggles. I'm talking local corruption. I'm talking environmental contamination. Anything that the media is not covering, or they're covering it, but they're not telling the truth. Email us, info@statuscoup.com. Again, I can't promise that I'll be able to stop everywhere, but we'll try to cover as much as we can. Thank you for watching. And again, we'll be live tomorrow in Pennsylvania, and then I'll be live starting Friday in Michigan. And we will post the information in the description of this live stream for the Facebook group for Conyers and elsewhere. And to whomever asked, we are on X at Status Coup News, on Twitter